In the summer of 2007, the stock market was near all-time highs. Unemployment was sitting at 4.6%. GDP was growing. Housing prices had climbed every single year for a decade. The headlines were good. The mood was optimistic. The data looked clean. 18 months later, the global financial system nearly ceased to exist. Now, I'm not here to tell you 2008 is happening again. That's not what this is, but I am going to show you something the data is quietly screaming right now that almost nobody in the mainstream is saying out loud. Because the last time this many warning signals lined up at the same time, the people who saw it early had the chance to protect themselves. The people who didn't. So let's talk about what's actually happening. The United States government is currently spending roughly $3 billion more than it collects every single day. Not every month, every day. The total national debt has now crossed $36 trillion. To put that in terms that actually mean something, if you started paying off that debt at $1 per second, it would take you over 1,000,000 years to clear it. But here's the part that doesn't make the headlines. The debt isn't just large, the debt is accelerating. It took America over 200 years to accumulate its first $10 trillion in debt. It took just 8 years to add the next $10 trillion. And it took less than 5 years to pile on the most recent $10 trillion. The curve isn't linear anymore, it's bending upward. And here's why that matters right now, specifically right now, in a way it didn't 5 years ago. Interest rates went up. For years, the debt was manageable because borrowing was almost free. The government could roll over old debt at near zero interest rates, but that era is over. The average interest rate the US government now pays on its debt has more than doubled since 2020. And because of that, the interest payment alone, just the cost of servicing the debt, not paying it down, not reducing it, just keeping up with the interest, is now running at over $1 trillion a year. For the first time in American history, the government spends more on interest payments than it does on national defense. You've probably heard the phrase soft landing thrown around a lot in the past 2 years. The Federal Reserve raised interest rates at the fastest pace in 4 decades, from near zero to over 5%. And the official story was that they threaded the needle. Inflation came down, the economy held up, no recession. Soft landing achieved. Except here's what almost nobody explains about a soft landing. It doesn't mean the damage didn't happen. It means the damage is delayed. Interest rate hikes don't hit the economy immediately. They work with a lag, sometimes 12 months, sometimes 18, sometimes longer. The full weight of the fastest rate hiking cycle in modern history hasn't fully landed yet. Think of it like this. If you slam the brakes in a car, you don't stop instantly. The car keeps moving forward. The economy works the same way. Here's where it starts to get uncomfortable.
Commercial real estate values have dropped over 20% from their peak nationally, and in some major office markets, the declines are closer to 40 and 50%. The vacancy rate for U.S. office space is sitting near 20%, the highest level ever recorded. These buildings were financed with loans. Those loans are coming due. And the banks holding those loans, mainly regional and mid-size banks, are sitting on losses they have not yet recognized on their books. Then there's the consumer. Credit card debt in America just crossed $1.25 trillion. The average interest rate on that debt is sitting at 23%. Delinquency rates on credit cards, meaning people missing payments, have now surpassed the levels seen during the 2008 financial crisis. And the personal savings rate has fallen to 2.6%, close to the lowest on record. The average American household isn't positioned for a storm. They're already underwater, and the storm hasn't arrived yet. Then there's corporate debt.
During the zero-rate era, thousands of companies borrowed heavily because money was essentially free. Now those loans are repricing higher. According to S&P Global, over $2.5 trillion in U.S. corporate debt is set to mature between now and 2027. These companies need to refinance, and they need to do it in a world where rates are dramatically higher than when they originally borrowed. Not all of them will make it. There's a metric that professional credit analysts track called the distressed debt ratio. It measures the percentage of bonds trading at levels that signal the market believes there's a meaningful chance of default. Right now, that number is climbing. It's not at crisis levels yet. but the direction matters as much as the level, and the direction is unambiguously up. The same pattern showed up in 2007, and in 2000, and in 1989. Each time, the move started quietly. Each time, most people didn't notice until it was far too late to do anything about it. There's also the Leading Economic Indicators Index, which is a composite measure of 10 economic variables that have historically predicted recessions. It has now declined for over 24 consecutive months. That's the longest uninterrupted decline in the history of the index. The last 4 times it fell this long, a recession followed every single time. Here's the part that makes this moment genuinely unusual in a way that 2008 wasn't. In 2008, the government had room to respond. The national debt was around $10 trillion. Interest rates were high enough to cut aggressively. There was fiscal space and monetary space to throw at the problem, and they used both. Today, neither of those tools is available the same way. The debt is $36 trillion, which limits how aggressively you can borrow and spend your way out of trouble. And interest rates, while off their peak, are still elevated, which means cutting them back to zero would be a massive move with unpredictable consequences in an era of already elevated inflation. The exits are narrower this time. That doesn't mean it all crashes. It doesn't mean you should panic. Markets have survived worse, economies have recovered from worse, and history rewards people who stay clear-headed when everyone else is losing their mind. But clear-headed doesn't mean ignoring the signals. It means reading them honestly. And right now, if you read the signals honestly, they're telling you something important. The foundation is not as solid as the headlines suggest. Here's where most videos like this one go wrong. They spend 15 minutes convincing you the sky is falling and then leave you standing in the rain with no umbrella. So let's not do that. The point of understanding this isn't to go sell everything and move to a bunker. The point is to understand the shape of the risk so you can position around it intelligently. Throughout history, the people who came out of economic dislocations the best were not the ones who predicted the exact timing. Nobody does that consistently. They were the ones who understood the environment they were operating in. They reduced leverage. They built liquidity. They kept optionality. They didn't need to be right about when. They just needed to not be fragile when it happened. Because here's what the data is telling you right now. The economy is showing more simultaneous stress signals than it has at almost any point outside of an actual crisis. The debt trajectory is unsustainable by any honest math. The consumer is stretched thin. The corporate refinancing wave is coming. And the government has less room to absorb a shock than it has had in decades. That is the honest picture. And the honest picture isn't something to panic about, but it is something to take seriously. Because the last time the signals looked this crowded, the people who shrugged it off and said, the economy looks fine, were right up until the moment they were very, very wrong. Drop a comment. I want to know, do you think the warning signs are being taken seriously enough right now, or is this just noise?